Hi, my name is River Higginbotham. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm here at the 14th Annual St. Louis Pagan Picnic.
And you've written some books?
Yes. Along with my wife, Joyce, we've written 2 books on paganism. We've written Paganism, An Introduction to Earth-Centered Religions, which came out in 2002. And recently, in January, we came out with Paganism, or rather, Pagan Spirituality, a guide for personal transformation. And both of those are published by Llewellyn and available widely or at our new website, which is riverandjoyce.com.
Very good. You've been coming to the picnic for a number of years.
That's an understatement. I think I have never missed a picnic, at least a portion of each picnic I've been to. And as of about 5 years ago, I was the overall coordinator for picnic for 3 years in a row, and have been very active on the physical part, the site preparation setup for picnic from early on. It's certainly gone through a lot of changes.
What would you say has changed most?
I remember the beginning where it was just a little family picnic, and then whenever there was a couple of hundred people that showed up, that shocked us all. The fact that there would be such a broad and latent interest in gathering in the public as pagans. It's grown from that into a really major city fair. A couple of thousand people or so we estimate attend. It's very, very hard to estimate that well. It's more commercial now. It's less family-like, but it's a great place for people to meet and share ideas and share their spiritual path. And I think it's really good that we make a public statement. And the more public it is, I think the more useful it will be for the pagan movement as a whole.
What do you hope to see for the picnic in the future?
Continuing ahead, at least as maintaining the current level of open expression and dialogue and getting together as a big extended pagan family. And I wouldn't mind it getting even bigger, and it may, but it's really hard to do to organize such a large enterprise. And I hope it becomes a continuing legacy, if you will, for our efforts to create it, and I hope it continues to be a positive force in the community in general and in the pagan sense.
You have been a leader of the St. Louis community for a long time, and let me ask you what kind of challenges that has presented to you.
I think it. My role as a leader in this pagan community shares challenges that many leaders face. The challenge of trying to craft a plan, a way ahead, events that will satisfy a broad range of people with very different opinions about what's more important and what's less important. So finding consensus is a big challenge, and yet whenever you have a plan and you're going forward with it, despite some criticism or something less than a full complement of people on board with you, then you get criticism. And it comes with the territory, and I really appreciate everyone in a leadership position who lead covens, do events, and put themselves out there. They're taking a personal risk, and they're providing a great service to the community, and I've shared those kinds of things myself. I applaud them all.
What do you think our community most needs in the future?
That's a very tough question. A common vision would be a great thing. Very difficult to achieve. I think it needs more and better leaders and leadership. I think the people in leadership positions in the movement, as far as I've been in it, are wonderful folks who are trying their damnedest to do a good job and do good things. And yet the challenge of doing things well, of thinking through the logistical challenges, of being fair, of dealing with conflict and dealing with disagreement in positive and proactive way. I think all of those are real challenges to leaders, and more leaders being more skilled in dealing with those sorts of things would really be a boon and an aid to the pagan community.
Would you like to say a word or two about witch wars?
Yeah, I'll comment on that. It seems to me like in the St. Louis region, there was a period in the late 80s or in the 80s where there was a lot of dissonance, acrimony, hurt feelings, and conflict. And a lot of that, I think, has dissipated in my experience over the last 15 years. I think there has emerged a contingent of people in this pagan community who are happy being public, and there's a large contingent which continue to be very private and don't engage in public things. I think it's not a healthy thing to have witch wars based on personality conflicts or perceived slights or differences of opinion or belief. And I think that happens among groups of people in most social dynamics. It's unfortunate whenever the disharmony is great. And again, leadership and communication skills, as those improve across the board, I think those are the kinds of things that will prevent really ugly, conflicting situations. But generally speaking, I can't say that I've seen that much evidence of it in the last 15 years. I think we've, as a group, are better able to work through our issues. But it's a continuing evolution, a continuing process, and I think we can only just strive to continue to improve.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about or to plug?
Talk a little bit about our books and our work again. We wrote Paganism: An Introduction to Earth-Centered Religions as an introductory book. It's good for giving to someone who doesn't know anything about paganism. It does not assume prior knowledge of the movement. And in that way, it's a very good first thing to touch in terms of being a pagan book or a pagan reference. But it's also a philosophical book, and it discusses magic in a way that relates magical practice to common pagan principles. And I think there's real strength in it, and it's also a good workbook and personal growth study book. The book we came out with in the beginning of '06 here is called Pagan Spirituality, A Guide for Personal Transformation. It takes the view of magic from where we developed it in Paganism: An Introduction, and it expands it to look at personal practice of magic in several different facets, but particularly in the context of human growth and development and societal growth and development and evolution of values. So we studied psychology and studied sociology and found some very interesting patterns there from the works of Ken Wilber and from books like Spiral Dynamics. And we've taken those ideas and let that be a foundation to discuss the pagan movement and pagan spiritual practice and growth. And I'm very interested to get some response to that, because I think it may be a valuable book for some folks.
Sounds very interesting.
Well, I hope people find it that way. And we just invented our website, so that has a little bit more information about both those books and ways to contact Joyce and myself should anyone have any questions or want to engage in a conversation.